All right, good evening, everybody. It is 6:01. It is August the 8th. This is the Town of Spencer regular meeting for the Board of Aldermen for the month of August. And we do have all of our board members present tonight, and we will begin with an invocation.
Please bow your head. Dear Father, we come to you this evening in a state of gratitude, appreciation for our fine public works crew and its Captain Joel through yesterday's storm, and also a big shout out to the Duke Power people who worked all night along with them. Cleanup and maintenance has been ongoing, and we thank you. Also, we offer appreciation for our school leaders and teachers, staff and students as they open up their new school year tomorrow. Keep all of them safe and mindful of your presence. And for us, the mayor, elected officials, and staff, guide us with discernment in tonight's discussions and decisions. Keep us aware that we serve all, and we should make our decisions accordingly. We ask this in your name. Amen.
All right. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Board, you have before you the proposed agenda that was set last Thursday at our pre-agenda meeting. Are there any additions or deletions suggested this evening before we move forward with adoption of the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I have one additional recognition that I wanted to add.
Okay. So there's one additional recognition, and Mr. Miller also has another recognition too. So we will make sure that we give time for both of you. All right. Anything else from the board?
No.
Anything from staff? Okay. So you have your agenda before you as amended with two additional recognitions, one by Ms. Sledge and one by Mr. Miller. Anything further? If not, is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
The motion by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Mr. Morgan. All in favor? All right. All opposed? And that's approved. We will now move forward with those recognitions, and I will turn it over to Town Manager Franzese for a staff recognition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and members of the board. At this time, I'd actually like Fire Chief Michael Lanning to come forward. He actually did do it. He and his team this late July had a really neat experience for 7 young people in our community and maybe one additional bonus young person who got to take part in the first ever fire camp named in honor of Justin Monroe. And it was an outstanding experience for these young people. 3 days, they got to see all sorts of pieces of the fire service and other emergency response areas. Even got to see the Novant helicopter and I mean, you name it, they got to take part in it. Looks like some of our pictures stopped scrolling through, but Mike, do you see what happened to our pictures that were going through there? But very proud of Chief Lanning and his team for putting this on and also collaborating with many partners across the community to provide an outstanding experience for the young people involved, including a wonderful recognition banquet at the end that Wednesday evening, and already looking forward till next year's event. But this is the sort of thing that we really appreciate our team putting on for our young people in the community, and commend again Chief Lanning and his staff for making it possible. And I know that Mrs. Monroe was very involved and supportive as well, and really appreciate her involvement in the process too.
Very good. Thank you. I'll say you've raised the bar for all your other department heads to follow suit next year.
You know, I've told everybody it was one, we planned it and it was kind of all jumbled together there last minute, and we were nervous. However, I could not have changed a single thing. It went flawlessly. The kids loved it. Parents loved it. I mean, there they are off the 4th floor of a training tower jumping off the ropes patch. So, you know, and I think maybe the thought was that we were going to have kids kind of sitting in a room and coloring some fire safety books. But I mean, they did it all. We gave them gear day one, the best that we could. It was a little big, but and they got to do everything from watch the fire grow, jump off a building, cut cars. It was great. And like Peter said, we partnered with Rowan EMS, Salisbury Fire Department, and MedFlight from Novant. So like I told them, we can't do our job alone, so we brought in those partners as well, so they can kind of see the other ends of our job. All of it was great. That Thursday following camp, Evan, which is one of the little gentlemen that was in our camp, brought a card that he went to Walgreens, got made. It had all of our group picture. You know, he filled out some stuff on the inside and had that exact picture of him on the back. And that in itself was worth 1,000 thank yous. So we touched them, and that's what it was about. So I don't necessarily deserve the recognition, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
So they got to cut car?
They did, yep. We got a car dropped off.
Well, good. That'll inspire them to go to work for Underwriters Laboratories and destroy things.
That's right. Yep. They cut the doors off. There they are. I mean, we assisted them. But by the end of it, all 4 of the doors, all the windows were gone. So they had a good time. So
I will say I got the chance to meet the kids, and there were a few, and one in particular very, very into it. You could tell where they're going with their career already at that one young. He was a middle school kid. I don't know if he was 12.
I think he was 11.
11, 12. I mean, he knew what he was going to do when he grew up. So
yeah, it was neat. So we opened day one with Mr. Monroe, obviously explaining who Justin was. Not the negative, but the positive, who he was. And we let the children introduce themselves. And, of course, my little boy was there. My little girl, she was a little young for the parameters of camp, so she was kind of our hang-around. But my little boy looked at me, just so you're aware. He said he's here to do this camp because he wants to learn how to be a fireman so he can take my job from me.
Take your job.
Yeah. He's got ambition, I guess. So, yep.
He's going to have to work
He's got
hard.
high goals.
Right.
Get out of the way, Dad.
Right. So, but again, thank you. Appreciate the support.
Thank you and your
Thank you.
team.
Thanks for doing that.
Steve Blunt, you got your work cut out for you with the planning camp next year. Steve might teach him to write a memo.
Public speaking.
We are so appreciative of all that our department heads do, and yeah, it's just another example of community outreach and helping to recruit the next generation of first responders. So we're incredibly grateful, and I tell you, I was proud to be able to look at all the coverage and the post and social media about it. Those are the good things we like to see coming out of Spencer. And Mr. Miller, that was going to be his recognition.
But Mr. Franzese outdid me, but it's still congratulations. The whole department did a great job. Yes, sir.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem, you have a couple recognitions.
Yes. Spencer lost a native. Excuse me. It skipped a bit and come back to me. Why this start?
Okay, we will skip over to Alderman Sledge and her recognition of National Night Out.
Thank you. Actually, I have 2 events to recognize tonight. First, I'd like to thank our Fire Chief Lanning again for heading up our Dragon Boat entry and rounding up enough participants to be able to paddle in the competition with 31 other teams. Our team consisted of staff members, police, fire, citizens, board members, and a few paddlers who came from out of town to help fill in the gaps with a bunch of amateurs that really were struggling. We had fun. We had no casualties, and so we had a good time. And then also thanks to Stephen and Linda Miller for hosting us afterwards at their place at the lake. And we all had a good time. So thank you all for all your work and all your activities and getting us in line.
And I will point out that the team medaled this year,
yeah.
and they didn't last year. And I rode last year, not this year, so we know who the Winka Slink is.
Actually, I had the medal with me. Maybe I had it earlier today. Maybe I took it out of my purse. But anyway, I was told that this is unofficial, but I was told that we placed in 9th place. Now, whether that's accurate or not, I'm not
That's
sure.
good.
And I haven't been able to verify that. So,
We'll take it.
Yeah. Secondly, I want to thank our police department for organizing the National Night Out event for last Monday for our community. Among the tents set up, children were able to get some school supplies. The tent was there was a tent doing IDs for young children. The Terry Hess House had their comfort dog here. The fire department, police department showed demonstrations of safety equipment. And Whosoever Will Church provided more than 350 hot dogs with all the trimmings for us. The town provided kid-sized snow cones for everyone too. So if you missed it on Monday, August the 1st, plan to look for it next year because it's always a good event. It's a good opportunity to meet people from the community and to provide information through the National Night Out program. So thank you very much to our police department for organizing it. Thanks to all the people who came and participated and all the citizens who came and took part. And Charlie was there for a little while, but it was hot, so I took him home and came back. And he is being vocal now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms.
Right,
Sledge. Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you. And sorry for the coughing a while ago. Spencer lost a native son who never really left with the passing of Rusty Miller in late July. Many of you personally knew him or knew of him. I had the pleasure of teaching both him and his sister. He was a human dynamo, even in middle school, always stepping up to help others and doing his part. He was heavily involved in refurbishing 8th Street Park and excitedly looked forward to the grand opening of the Bunts golf carts this Saturday, August the 12th, right here in Park Plaza. Cancer took him quickly, but it didn't take what he left, a legacy of service and accomplishment. Rest in peace and power, Rusty. And I also had another quick one. Kudos to our North Rowan schools opening the new school year tomorrow. Remember to watch carefully for students as you travel on our streets. We have dedicated administrators, teachers, staff, and students engaged in learning as they develop their talents. Hats off also to North Rowan Elementary School, North Rowan Middle School, and to Henderson School right up the road about a mile for receiving an innovative partnership grant of $1.5 million to be paid to each school over 3 years. That's impressive. It's one of the biggest grants I've heard of in Rowan County. Funds will be used to implement evidence-based school improvement strategies and to hire an IPG Innovative Partnership Grant coach to make sure instructional and whole child learning is taking place. And speaking of coaching, I want to wish a special big welcome to our new football coach, Coach Sophia, who also worked with me at North Rowan Middle School. From what I understand, North Rowan has a scrimmage tomorrow night at the Cavalier Stadium, and then they have one on Friday at Carson High School. So enjoy some of your football as it's getting ready to open up, and go cheer for the Cavaliers.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. All right, that completes our recognitions this evening, and we will move forward now with public comment. We do have a couple individuals signed up for public comment, and each speaker will have 3 minutes to respond or to provide their comments. The board may or may not respond at their discretion. All right, first we'll welcome Leslie Talbot forward.
Hi, and I promise I'll try and keep it to 3. I do want to say one thing. I was as a citizen of Spencer, I am delighted every time I get my newspaper, and we're on page 1 and page 2, and it's always good news. So I'm really pleased, and the article about the fire camp was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the good news. I want to talk about the bus kiosk, and I'll explain why. Give you a little background. When I first moved into the house, they thought it was empty, and they were going to put the kiosk coming. I think Mr. Miller suggested right in front of my steps, but we said no. And we talked about there was a bus stop at Harrison and a bus stop in front of Bojangles. Bojangles was chosen because they didn't have to grade. And Joel probably correct me if I'm wrong. They didn't have to do a lot of grading because the ground was level. So the pad went down and the kiosk went up, and it was very, very popular. And then along comes, we're going to go to 2 lanes with a turn lane. Well, I got to sit there and watch on my front porch while the utility companies closed down one of the lanes between Andrews or Jefferson on the Food Lion side, all the way down below Harrison. Well, the bus came, made its turn, and there were people who wanted to get on it, so he stopped. Another car came, and he wanted to go into Harris Teeter. I'm not Harris Teeter. He wanted to go into Food Lion. So he was in the turn lane to turn into the Food Lion. So we have a bus and we have a car. Stop. Third car comes around the corner, and he has no place to go. And he's kind of like, he stops, and then another car comes. And all of a sudden, we have one car that's half in and half out. I would like to ask you to consider moving the kiosk down closer to Harrison Street, because that at least will give people room to navigate in a single lane with the turn lane. Because if that had been the turn lane, there would have been no place for anybody to go except to hang up behind the bus. And we have handicapped people that get on and off that bus, and it can take them 5 and 10 minutes to get organized. So I'd just like you to consider it. I kind of always enjoyed decorating the kiosk for Christmas, but I think you need to look at the number of accidents that we have. I think that's one of our highest accident intersection, because we have so many people trying to come out, come in, turn, go straight. And of course, everybody's doing 35 plus miles an hour. So that's all I've got to say. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Talbot.
Thank you very much.
So I would like to respond to that real quickly. I think we can definitely look into that, especially as the traffic pattern there is changing. I think you bring up a very valid point that we need to look into. The other thing that I want to make the community aware of is they will be changing the bus service here soon. It will be we'll be going to the micro transit model. So instead of the large buses, there are going to be smaller vehicles and more individualized service. And so what that's going to force us to do is really kind of relook at all of our bus stops or all of our public transit stops. We have an additional bus kiosk that we're waiting to install and waiting to see based on what that micro transit model is going to be, as well as then our Park Plaza Park plans, because that was where that was planned to go. So all that to say, we appreciate the comments, and that'll be just another one of the parts that we look at as we finalize the microtransit model and bus stops. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Mr. Howard Dobie.
Before I get ready to get started, who all didn't sleep last night?
It was hot.
I couldn't sleep. It was just so hot. These are my opinions. They may count, they may not. You may listen, you may not respond. Since the city of Spencer bought the garbage truck, the Mack, I would like to see Spencer have all new police cars. I see the old police car coming down the street there on North Yadkin Avenue, and it reminds me of Car 54, Where Are You? And in that, I'd like to buy that old car, Highway 54, Car 54, Where Are You, at a reasonable rate or price. Second, the old trolley bridge. The pillars are still there on the water. on the river. I hear a lot of people talk about the old trolley bridge. I'd like to see something done with that, since we're moving forwards, and it would be a place to where people could walk across there when complete. And I think that would be great. Thinking ahead. Number 3 is stepping out. The building up there. All I see every time that I go from Spencer to Salisbury is that big old hole there. I mean, how many times have I seen that? And I just wanted to bring that to y'all's attention. I don't know how long it's been like that, but that old hole is still there and it hasn't changed. And that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Dobie.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Dobie, can I ask you a question about are you speaking about the old, I guess the old passenger car bridge or walking
Well, you
bridge?
know, it'd be right behind North Carolina Finish.
Yeah, kind of
The bridge
like
is
the
still there.
northwestern side over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
yeah,
my
I got you.
brother,
Okay.
my older brother, tells me about that because he's 10 years older than I am, about the old trolley. And I heard my daddy talk about it, you know. And you're just thinking ahead, you know, how nice if the development that's going to be there replaces North Carolina Finish Company. It would be people that are there visiting, you know, may want to walk across there instead of the other long bridge. It's just my thinking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Dobie, I will say on the police vehicles, we do have an item on our agenda tonight that will actually be eliminating several of those old police cars. We'll be selling those. So if you're interested in them, go
Well,
govdeals.com, right?
I'd like a special price since I've been here so long. I ain't talking about a higher class, but a lower class.
But those will be sold, and so we do have quite a few new vehicles, which are replacing these old ones. So thank you.
Those may become collector's items.
They might. It's like up in Mount Airy, right?
Yeah.
They use the old
Barney
police cars
Barney.
there for
Yeah.
the tours.
Yeah.
All right. That's all for public comment. Have we received any written public comment?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. And so, Board, you have before you your consent agenda item that includes the approval of minutes from 3 meetings in July, as well as 2 ordinances to be adopted. Is there any reason to pull any of those items on the consent agenda tonight for further discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Muhammad.
Second.
Second by Ms. Sledge. All in favor? All opposed? That is approved. All right. The next item is Resolution 23-17. It is the Health Center Grant, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Franzese.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and members of the board. This is an item that we have talked about a few times, and tonight we are presenting for your consideration and hopefully approval. And this is a project that a local nonprofit, the Cabarrus-Rowan Community Health Centers, has asked us to join with them on an effort to expand their local clinic, their North Rowan clinic here. We have available on Zoom, I believe, Mr. Don Holloman, who is the CEO of the nonprofit organization. It looks like, yep. So he is hopefully able to, there he is. There's Mr. Holloman. So I'm going to give a few comments, and he may want to add a few things. And but the request, as we've discussed through the budget process, is for us to provide a part of a local government contribution towards a North Carolina Department of Commerce building reuse grant that they are going to apply for. They are planning a project that is in excess of about $1 million, and they have already secured some funding for this project from the Golden Leaf Foundation. They're also working with the USDA on a loan, and they are seeking to share the remaining $150,000 of the project with the Department of Commerce grant. So it's a 1-for-1 grant where they would contribute $75,000 and receive a grant of $75,000. And part of the requirements for their half is that 5% of that, or roughly $3,750, come in the form of a local government contribution. And we have been talking with them and our neighbors in East Spencer about sharing in that, so that each town would contribute $1,875 towards this project. And what's asked, what's put on your agenda for consideration is a resolution of support for the project that would be submitted to NC Commerce, and then the money, which has already been approved in the budget, should they be successful in their grant, we at that point would contribute our share. And Mr. Holloman is available here on the Zoom, and I'll invite him to add in anything else about the project he would like to.
Peter, I think you have hit the nail right on the head. First and foremost, I want to thank the council and yourself the brief time to allow us to be able to present this opportunity to expand access to care in the Spencer community. You hit all of the bullets associated with this opportunity, but just to tell you what's at the heart of this is the expansion of access of care. If we're able to move through this with the assistance from the council for this Building Reuse Act funding, what it would allow us to do is we're going to expand access to care at our Northern Spencer clinic. We're going to add about 2,400 square feet onto the clinic, but what it's going to do is it's going to we're going to expand our substance abuse program, our behavioral health program, our medication assistance program, along with our medical program, in addition to adding a pharmacy at that clinic for the community to access. It's going to provide an additional 7 jobs and see an additional 1,500 to 2,000 people a year with the additional services. We're thankful on behalf of the board, my board chair, Robert Freeman, and the management, patients, and staff. We thank you just for taking the time to be able to support us with this resolution to go a part of our entire package to expand access to care for the Spencer community. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. If not, Peter, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Holloman. I will say on behalf of the board, thank you for the commitment that your organization has made to Northern Rowan County. We're excited about the opportunity and hopeful for this grant for you, that you'll be successful in it. And we just appreciate the services you provide to Spencer and East Spencer residents. You're a vital part of our community, and so thank you for what you do. I'll open it to the board for other questions or comments. Ms. Sledge.
I did have one question. Did I understand you to say that the pharmacy would be available for the community, or would it be for the patients that you are seeing?
Well, it will be for the patients that we receive, but we're working with our partner to make it an open pharmacy. So the goal of it will be to hopefully be an open retail pharmacy after we get up and established. But the primary use will be for our patients, then to open it up.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
I just wanted to make a comment. My younger daughter, Molly, whom many of you know, had a very severe health crisis 3 years ago when she had an aneurysm. And she stuck with her doctors at North Rowan Medicine, and we have been nothing but pleased with them. And I highly recommend them if any of you have never tried them. We chose them because they were within walking distance, and she couldn't drive because her eyesight was so damaged. So it worked out really, really well for us.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Alderman, I just want to say that, and you may know this, there's an enormous need for a pharmacy in our community in the generally the Northern Rowan area. So if you get that up and running, that'd be fantastic. And any way we can help, I'm not sure we can, but any way we can help, please let us know.
We definitely will. Honestly, this commitment to partner and the ability to help us leverage this additional funding means that's less money that we have to come out of pocket or we have to borrow against, and more money we can put back into the clinic to expand access to care. We have a few more tricks up our sleeve to be able to kind of expand access to care, and this is just the first ball to get things rolling in the community.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve Resolution 23-17, supporting an application to the North Carolina Department of Commerce, Rural Economic Development Division, State Building Reuse Program for the Cabarrus Rowan Community Health Center?
I move to accept that resolution.
I have a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion from Ms. Sledge and a second from Mr. Howe. All in favor? All opposed? All right, that's approved unanimously. Thank you all very much. Mr. Alderman, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for all that you do for the community.
Likewise. All right, the next item is an update on the US Highway 29 rezoning process from Mr. Blunt.
Mayor, members of the board, I asked to be on the agenda tonight so you wouldn't be embarrassed about having such a short meeting.
Thank you for sparing us.
Would not have bothered us.
Thank you for sparing us.
Honestly, I did start out this morning with a single slide that I had on this PowerPoint, and I was embarrassed that I was going to come to you. So I have added a few more slides just to fill things out a little bit.
Thank you.
I came to you, I think, last month with this initial presentation talking about changing some of the zoning in the US Highway 29 corridor because of this. This is what your current zoning looks like. It's a little more dramatic in black than it is in the blue color that you usually use. But all of the area in the corridor into the east of the railroad tracks, into the west and north out to the river is basically zoned industrial. And in the corridor itself, the properties facing the corridor, it's our opinion that doesn't make good sense for the development patterns that will take place in that area. The reason I wanted to bring this back to you quite seriously is that when I brought it to you last month, I told you there were 15 properties we were looking at. As we got into it more deeply, we found there were 35 properties that we needed to consider. So this is getting close to being what the map will be when we bring it back to you after it goes through the planning board, after we have meetings with the individual property owners. Primarily, the good side of this is that we're trying to zone things as they are currently being used and as they logically will be used in the future. So we don't think we're going to upset a whole lot of people. If it's a residential unit now, we're going to zone it residential. If it's a commercial property now, we're going to zone it commercial. The industrial properties will stay industrial. The multi-use property for the North Carolina Finishing Company will probably change to a multi-use MU2. There are 4 properties, though, really 5 properties and 4 property owners that continue to vex me just a little bit. And that's because these are currently used for automobile repair operations, but they are drifting quickly towards being junkyards. The automobile repair is allowed in the industrial classification, although we do have a specific zoning classification for that type of operation. But we don't allow junkyards in anything except our heavy industry. So we are working to try to do away with the use as a junkyard. And if we accomplish that, what we're trying to figure out is what the appropriate classification is for those 4 or 5 properties, depending on how you look at it. I think I mentioned to you at the last meeting, matter of fact, that's a slide from the last presentation. It's a little hard to see from that scale. That's actually 4 of the properties, 3 of the property owners who currently have operations. And as I told you then, because they're in the industrial classification, they are not allowed to store vehicles in the front yard setback. And in the industrial classification, the front yard setback is 80 feet. So it's a little hard to see, as I said, but there's a black line on there. And what that means is all stored vehicles will have to be pushed back behind the 80-foot line. If, on the other hand, we were to rezone this to the VSR classification, vehicle service and repair, that red line, the front yard setback in that classification is only 10 feet. So the red line becomes the line that they have to push the cars back from. And that's one of them. That's the other one. You'd see the black line and the red line. Black line's 10 feet, red line's 80 feet. And that's the long, skinny one. Red line's 10 feet, black line, you can see it myself, whichever color that is. The one that's out close to the road is 10 feet. The one that's farther back in is 80 feet. Obviously, if we make them push the vehicles back 80 feet, it makes it very difficult for them to use their properties as they currently use them. Even if we clean them up, they clean them up, get rid of the junk cars, it still limits the use of their property. That's why we're considering the VSR classification. The one good thing is that no matter which classification it falls under, they still have to put the screening up. So the screening, if done properly, should block the view of the vehicles that are stored behind the screening from the road. But it comes down to sort of a question of how punitive we want to be as a community. Do we want to help them run a business that's been in operation for a long time? Or do we want to make it difficult in hopes that it will evolve into another industrial or commercial use in the future? So I would be glad to hear from you now or in the future as we consider this. Obviously, these properties will be brought back to you after going to the planning board, after having public hearings, so you'll get a lot more input. But if you have any personal feelings on this, I'd certainly be glad to hear from you at any time. So again, the real question is VSR versus industrial. Industrial's an 80-foot setback in the front yard. VSR's only a 10-foot setback. Both of them require the screening. 6-foot privacy screening plus plantings across the front of that to hide the screen itself. So just wanted to keep you updated. I can talk on for another half hour if you'd like me to, but I don't get the impression you want me to go away. Actually, my wife and I are planning to spend the night here tonight because we still don't have power. And it is hot at home.
Any comments or questions from the board for Mr.
Question and a comment. And I think I know the answer, but I'm asking for the folks who are playing along at home now or in the future. If we were to rezone, let's say you decide to rezone my house. You don't like my house. You want it to be an industrial factory. You change the zoning, or you come before, we change the zoning to industrial. As long as my house stays a house, it's a non-conforming use, can stay that way as long as it stays a house. Is that okay? So out there, lots of residences, been there a long time. If we were to change the zoning to industrial, commercial, mixed use, whatever it is, as long as it stays a house, it can stay a house, right? Or at least generally speaking.
And in actuality, that area is currently zoned as industrial, and there are a lot of houses there. Right.
But we're starting to see, I think I mentioned this example to you at the last meeting, a lady called to see if she could, she had an old dilapidated house on a piece of property, and she wanted to tear it down and build a new house on that property. The answer was no, because you're zoned industrial.
And that's my comment, and I guess it's a generic answer both to the larger project as well as your answer here, or question here, and that is, my view is we need to zone it what we think it should be in 25 years. And if that's industrial or commercial or mixed use, for example, I'm seeing the green residential on the map, and maybe that's as it is now. I don't know that after we get redone rezoning, there should be any residential in that entire area. To be honest, that's my thought. That's my view.
It's a perfectly valid thought, and that's what you will have to make your decision on. And my feeling as your planner, I was getting ready to say my personal opinion, but that doesn't matter here. I'm speaking as your planner. While the overall area should be developed as industrial, it's a great area for industrial and heavy commercial. The road frontage broken up into lots of small lots, and the need for commercial development primarily, but also the acceptability of a mix of commercial and residential, light industrial, etc., along the corridor itself, lends itself to the concept of let's look at what's out there now and look at what we want it to be in the future. I agree. That's what zoning is all about. If you really think that you want wall-to-wall industrial from Jefferson Street to the river, if that's what you want, if that's what you think is beneficial to the town's dream of having the River District and the EB 5861 sidewalks and bike paths where people will ride their bikes from here to the river. If you really think that having industrial all along that corridor is beneficial to that dream for the town, then that's the way we should go. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that for me, looking at it as a bicyclist, I would much prefer to ride down a road that has a mix of uses, that breaks up the traffic patterns, that gives me a place to ride halfway and stop and, I was going to say get a beer, but I don't think you do that. Stop and get a Coke and then ride out the rest of the way. So it's all a thought process. Right now, your future land use plan for that area is all industrial. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different vision than I think what the town.
And I will say, I think that vision was previously set when the intent of the finishing company site was to develop both sides of Highway 29 as industrial. And I think we've had this kind of resurgence of a vision along with the park and the additional land that's been granted to the town from the Yadkin Historical Museum group. The future plans for that look a lot different now than they did a decade ago. And so I think it does make us take pause and think about what that corridor looks like. The other thing is if you have a mix of different uses in that corridor, it better ties that area into the town of Spencer and creates a buffer, if you will, between the areas of industrial development that we've identified. You've got a natural barrier in the Norfolk Southern Railway on the east side of 29, but then on the west side, having some other type of commercial barrier would be helpful.
And the Yadkin Village, don't forget that it's there now, and part of your vision is to see it renovated and upgraded and made better. The mixed use on the North Carolina Finishing Company side will probably include a residential component. And all those people that live out there in Yadkin Village and in the residential part of that development will need places to have their laundry done, talk to their accountant, pick up their food for the day or whatever. So a commercial blend along with the residential doesn't cost you enough land to say you're giving up on industrial. All the large sites will be, as you saw on the screen, all the big sites are still going to remain industrial. Everything on the east side of the railroad, we have pushed to be developed as industrial. There's some residential zone stuff on the east side that eventually I would like to see changed back to industrial. So the vision is y'all's. Y'all got elected to make those kind of decisions.
And I would just to clarify, I'm not necessarily saying it should be industrial or stay industrial. I'm just saying that, do we, in those particular green areas here, do we want to leave it where we have quarter acre single family homes? Is that the objective? I'm not sure that should be. That's all I'm saying.
Think about it.
Yeah.
It'll be back before you when we'll
Sure.
ask you to vote on it one way or the other. And we will do it as individual parcels if that's the way we need to. If there's some that you really think should stay industrial. There are a couple of big parcels that are shown in green, and they're shown in green because there's a house on that parcel right now. You might say, hey, the big parcels should stay industrial or stay commercial. So all those points will be brought to you. We'll break it down as much as we need to help you make your decisions.
Do you need any initial feedback on the car repair, the VSR?
Again, I'm still slightly struggling with that one. My inclination, having been a small businessman, is to help them be successful with their businesses. The VSR zoning classification would help them be successful as long as we can also get them to clean up the junkyard component.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And the board, if you want to chime in as well. I mean, from my perspective, we don't want to punish businesses for choosing Spencer and our surrounding ETJ to run their business. We want to make that possible for them, but we also want to do so where it maintains or restores a positive character within the community. And I mean, I think that what you've proposed with the VSR rezoning goes a long way to achieve that and allow them to continue operating as they have been, but then put in some parameters for future uses that would require that. Those updates and screening. Now, let me ask you, they would be grandfathered in, so they wouldn't be subject to these screening requirements. Is that
They
correct?
are required to screen.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, regardless, either way.
Regardless.
That's right.
That's
okay.
an operational issue. That's not
Okay. Right.
an initial zoning classification type.
I kind of agree with you as far as that goes. I don't want to be too strict on these people because they've had their business down there for so many years and we've let them slide as far as that goes. But at the same time, there are some eyesores down there that we need to clean up. I mean, there's some good people down there that running good businesses that I know they're fed up with those people as well. So I think we need to defend their right and ask them to clean it up and see what they can do.
Okay. Ms. Sledge?
I think I noticed this week that the car dealership has moved some their vehicles back off the road to be a little more in compliance.
James contacted all 4 of the property owners and told them the basics of what they needed to do. The car dealership, because it had a conditional use permit, is allowed to operate as a car dealership. But to do that, they have to meet the rules and regulations of the car dealership. And one of those rules is you can't have cars parked in the road right away. That's why they're moving back.
Yeah.
The other ones, it's the front yard setback that's requiring them to move back. So slightly different rules.
Yeah, if these are rezoned to VSR and they sell the property, does it still remain VSR or would it be rezoned?
The zoning goes with the land, so it will always be VSR.
So it would always be.
Unless somebody came in and wanted to revise the zoning. If
Okay.
somebody wanted to put an industry on it or put a commercial operation, they would have to get a rezoning for that classification.
Okay. But it's not going to be set in stone from here until
Right.
eternity.
And that sort of goes to the residential component. If we rezone some of these residential lots, existing residential lots, to a residential classification, SFR2, and let's say a year from now, somebody wants to buy 3 or 4 of these lots and put them together and put a business there. All they got to do is knock on the door and say, we'd like to get this rezoned to the appropriate zoning classification. And then it's up to you to make that decision.
I have a question.
Well, after the meeting. All right. Anything else for Mr. Blunt? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Move on to departmental reports. Anything on the planning end for you? Okay. Thank you. I see Mr. Morris here. Anything for you tonight? September 8th. It's the ribbon cutting for our Yadkin River Trailhead.
What about on August the 11th? Not gonna let you get by without it.
Getting settled down back there, listening to Steve's report is enlightening. August 11th is the day that we will learn the fate of our Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant application. The Parks and Recreation Authority meets in Raleigh on Friday at 9 o'clock, and I'm actually going to the meeting, so I'll be there, and we'll know by about 2:30 or so.
And there is a way to tune in via.
Yeah, there is a link. I can share that.
That'd be great if you could share that with the board.
Board if you want to look at that. I did find out today that they are funding projects in the absence of an adopted state budget. And so what they have decided to do is make a round of awards based on the budget that they had last year, which was $8.2 million. But they're hoping to have more than $8.2 million. And so they're going to score essentially what would be contingent projects. Okay. I'm hoping we're in the first group, but eventually there will be a state budget and there will be other projects that will be funded too. So I'll be there Friday and I'll sit in the back of the room and answer any questions that they might have. But I have a lot of confidence in our application.
Thank you for all the time that
Sure.
you and the folks from Benesh have put into it. All right. Anything on the code enforcement end?
One thing I'll mention, and Chief File is here, as I reported to you, James Osborne, who was our code enforcement officer for nearly 3 years, has left his position with the town. So we will be looking to fill that position. In the meantime, we are talking with Central Line Regional Council about temporary services. And we had an initial call today. We have a in-person meeting set up for Monday where they're going to meet with Chief File and his staff and take a look on the ground at some issues. But so that's our immediate plan regarding the code enforcement, and then we will be working to fill the position.
What is the plan in the interim? I guess 2 questions. What's the time frame that we're expecting for those temporary services to be arranged? And then what are we doing in between now and that point to continue enforcement as well as those active cases that we have?
Sure, and I'll invite Chief File to come forward, but it appears that they would be able to get to work fairly quickly. I expect within a week or 2, they should be able to start working with us. The cases we have pending are, I think, in the a few dozen cases that are in the current pending status or open status, and they've been looking through those. And so the immediate task is to see what kind of low-hanging fruit, for lack of better words, is out there that we can continue with the staff we have. But we're also going to be working to make sure our staff across the board are able to, if we get a complaint, can get those into our iWork system and get the case log, prepared for the team to come in. They will be working within that same software just to not have any hiccups. But Chief, I'll ask you to fill in wherever needed.
I covered it pretty good. Yeah, I will say during James's 2-week notice, we sat down and worked through, because he was kind of a one-man team. So we sat him down and worked through what he had pending and cleared out everything. That was my goal, was to get everything cleared out that we could clear out, so that I could get a real picture of what was going on. Because he could tell you every case he had, but it was real hard for a third party to look in there and be able to tell. So we're just under 40 active cases, keeping in mind that some of those are cases that stem back some time and all with valid reason. So obviously there are some houses that are in need of severe repair that are currently being worked on. They're awaiting insurance checks. There's a ton of possibilities and reasons why. So some of those are ones that stretch back a number of months, even back into 22. So those are ones that likely we won't move on very quickly. They've already in a pending status. There's already direction in the notes that James left in there for what was going on with those. But we're going to try our best to keep at least everything in the system and noted for whenever a new code enforcement officer comes in. Obviously, we'll try and triage and do what we can. I'll be lying if I said that as your police chief, I could do code enforcement. I don't know it very good, and quite frankly, we don't have a ton of time to be able to pull off from the police side to do code. But as far as citizen contact, be able to keep it caught up in the computer, and then working with these individuals that are going to come in and supplement us right now, I believe we'll be able to keep the majority of it under control. Obviously, we don't want a new code enforcement officer to come in with 100 cases on him either, so we're going to try to keep that under wrap best we can for right now.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just a thought. I guess in the interim, when these folks call in, and I'm assuming there'll be complaints, right? It's going to happen. I think as long as we're communicating that we're working on it. I mean, so if they don't see results the next day, or we're not ignoring them. We have to work through now our own issue.
Right. And that's one of the good abilities. iWorks is a really good program. I did a crash course in it the last 2 weeks to try to figure out how to run it. It is a very functional program. What it allows is for citizen contact to go both ways. So I understand 100% why James always preached he wanted everybody to key stuff into the portal. is when somebody keys it into the portal, their contact information is immediately attached to the case, and it magically appears in your mailbox. And like I got one emailed to me on Saturday night, so it came into my email box. I was able to sign into iWorks and see who's sending in, and it was actually a case I was already familiar with, so I made contact with the landlord on it. So some of those that's why it's so important for people to use that portal. It does make it really easy for us to have that two-way conversation with them. So definitely, if you talk to anybody, stress to them the importance of keying it in that way. That's going to be a lot easier, especially in the interim, since it's going to be hard for them to per se call up here and meet James in the lobby like they used to and talk to him for an hour. If they key it in, we'll be able to have probably a faster resolution to it. So I think I don't know if you hit on that. I don't know if Peter hit on this or not. There's a potential that our supplemental code enforcement may be able to provide an hourly service to us, to where they may be in town more than just one day a week. So if we have them for a couple of days, and even if it's only 3 or 4 hours a day, it's going to allow us to keep those citizen contacts up. So.
Anything else? All right. You stay up there.
Perfect.
Police department report.
I feel a lot better talking about this. So something I actually understand and know about. So I provided the monthly report as usual. Typical for this time of year over the summer. So just under 1,600 events for this month. A couple good things that I'm pretty excited about. So everybody knows we briefly talked about the mutual aid with Davidson County. So I did meet with Sheriff Simmons, had lunch with him. A good conversation. We did sign a mutual aid with Davidson County. So that's to my knowledge, the first time that's been done here ever. So obviously with us butting up together, their deputies have been working that area for a variety of reasons. So their deputies are now checking our part, and we're checking theirs again like what we previously did. I've gave the officers a target of 200 checks per month, which is busy. But 200 checks per month is a good goal for them, and I think that we will probably be able to get fairly close to that. So that means 200 checks at our part, 200 checks at Davidson County's part. We're going to pay them back for what they're doing for us. So they're effectively just coming across the bridge, checking ours, hitting it with a spotlight, turning around and going back. So that's going to give us double coverage. So if we can do 200 and they can do 200, we've got pretty good coverage out there at that point. So I'm real excited about that. Aside from that, nothing crazy has went on, which is we're very happy about. Remedial action program is going well as it has been. Everybody that we have currently in the program is in compliance. Landlords are being very receptive to that. And if you've noticed a few of the houses that I know most of you are aware of that have been in that program, there is some positive change going on. There's some rehabilitation of those homes, and hopefully good tenants will be coming into that. So, and we've got a few on the watch list. They've already been notified, and we've had no further problems. So I think word is getting out to the landlords about how the remedial action program works, and they would much rather comply early on than to be have us breathe down their neck a little bit and have to actually put them in the program and do monthly checks with them. So pretty happy about how that's going. As far as staffing goes, we had a new officer start this Monday. So that leaves us one short, which is actually one of the 2 new positions that was approved for this budget year. So we have a few applicants already for that, and we're going to begin a review of those applicants this coming Monday. I've actually had 2 telephone calls, and I have one that called me while I was in here. So that's a good sign. So I think we're going to have a variety of individuals to pick from for that position. So we're excited about getting that up and going. That team, coincidentally, we met with the sheriff's office today in Rowan County. We're going to be having a task force, and that team will be part of that task force team. So the ability for us is going to be our 2 guys will get a little experience working with some other agencies and helping them out about 2 days per month. On the flip side, all of those other agencies are going to come to Spencer a couple of times and help us out. So we're going to rotate where we help out. So if Cleveland needs help, we may go over and help Cleveland. Rockville needs help, or wherever the need is. So we're going to kind of cycle around throughout the county over the course of the year. So at some point, there will be some big events here in Spencer where you may see 7 or 8 officers working trouble areas. So it's going to be good to have that, that ability to be able to really put a lot of officers onto problems that we may be having. So it's going to be a very flexible schedule. So if we have a problem today, Friday's our day to work. Doesn't say they can't all come here on Friday. So we're very excited about having that. I know vehicles are a hot topic. So new vehicles in the back parking lot. So the good information I have is we finally have all of the back ordered equipment in for 3 of those new vehicles. I know most of you will remember a lot of those vehicles were actually thought of or either allocated / ordered or made contact with dealerships back in not just this previous budget year, but the one before that. So in the 2021-2022 budget year, and a bunch of those were ordered and realized this past time. The unfortunate thing is our contract and the upfitter we have, that has fell through just the day and age. So we are cycling through trying to find a new upfitter for those vehicles. So we've got 3 vehicles sitting out here with all the equipment stacked up in the trunks, ready to go, and nobody to put the equipment in. So we're working on that and gathering some new quotes for that. Unfortunately, I believe that's going to slow us down a few months on getting those vehicles on the road. So we're going to keep on using what we have. So we're very happy about the one that was approved tonight in consent agenda. That is going to effectively, when these other ones are on the road, that will take our last Crown Vic out of service. So we actually have a Crown Vic that went back in service full time. I know a few of you have been seeing Crown Vic trying the road. So that should take the last Crown Vic out of full-time service. It'll probably still have 1 or 2 of them sitting on the back line. So got a couple guys begging to keep a Crown Vic around here as a parade vehicle. The last of the dying era of real true police cars. So we haven't discussed that one yet, but that may be something we think about. But definitely thank you for your support on everything you do for the police department, and I want to thank my guys. They stand up job, doing a lot of work for us, and making us look good. So that makes me look good in turn. So we appreciate everything, and I will answer any question you may have for me.
Any questions from the board? I've got one.
I have one. Denise Whitley contacted you about a problem that she had with some neighbors. We were able to resolve.
Yeah, I believe that one. I think that one will be okay.
Yeah. The only one I have is you got your work cut out for you next year with your police officer camp. I hear you're looking to do that, right?
Well, the good thing is I actually have that program already written where I've taught it before, so I do have the program. Provided our staffing level stays where it is now, then I think we're going to do maybe a little joint week-long event.
Oh,
so yeah, I'm excited about that.
So it's not going to be a competition for participants, huh?
Well, there's always competition, but
well, thanks for all you and your folks do out there. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
No, appreciate it.
All right. This Chief Lanning, Fire Department.
Mayor and board, you have my prepared report before you. A couple of things I wanted to hit on. Obviously, storm came through yesterday. We could not have done it without PD and Public Works help. I know personally, I think it was a little over 30 calls we responded to. Fortunately, no one was hurt. I know a lot of this has been an inconvenience with traffic delays and loss of power, but nobody was hurt, so that's the positive to all of it. New Chief's vehicle, picked it up on Friday. It's out front, brought it, in case you guys wanted to view that tonight after the meeting. Next month, we'll be bringing forth the surplus of the Crown Vic for your authorization. That's all I really have, unless you have any questions.
I have one.
Yeah.
I see with personnel we have 25% vacancy. I guess my question is, what do we as a board need to do to help you?
Yes. Yeah, so me and Peter actually met last Thursday to kind of discuss some of these concerns. Part-time help is cheaper than full-time help. It's nice. However, and I feel like about a year ago we were having the same conversation. It's not reliable. It's not dependable. The unfortunate truth of part-time help is it's a supplemental paycheck. And Christmas time, people want to work part-time. They want that extra money throughout the year. The investment, the buy-in is very limited. And that's kind of where we're running into is a limited availability. Our standards are pretty strict, and bad as it sounds, you meet the standards or you don't. And so that's kind of weeded a few out. Ultimately it comes back to a budget thing. 25% equates to about 180 hours a month that we're short. Again, we could use our full timers and work them extra. They'd like the paycheck, but they're gonna get burnt out. So the reality of that is it comes down to myself and the deputy chief working, whoever works a little bit more, 180 hours to kind of fill that blank. So it's frustrating, but I think the horizon looks a little brighter. So we're making do for now, but definitely not something sustainable long term.
One thing I'll note, of course, in the budget this year, we've programmed the idea of 6 additional full-time positions. Those are tied to a successful SAFER grant application that we've submitted. The grant process with FEMA has been probably about 6 months behind where we think it should be. They typically would start awarding in May. They've yet to start awarding. There was an additional round of ARPA-related funding that went towards FEMA at the end of last year that caused an additional FEMA round, SAFER round from last year. So they're still, they were working on that. Now they're working on their other program, the Assistance to Firefighters grant, and so they just seem to be a little bit behind. And that is the big challenge, is that our ability to just move ahead with those positions is not really there until we find out where we are. Either we find out where we are with that grant, or what we talked about on the budget is as the revenue trends start developing into the fiscal year, we may have an opportunity, even if we don't get the grant, to do some level of those positions. But we're not quite here at the beginning of August. We don't have the revenue trends available to make decisions.
Questions? Thank you, sir. Thanks for all y'all.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Taylor, Public Works. Get the feeling everybody needs to go home and take a nap. They've been working hard.
Running late night last night. Yeah.
My guys will agree for sure. So, good evening, Mayor, members of the board. I will start with the storm update. So, I do want to thank the fire department and the police department, because without those two and doing the running, and the fire department helping cut, and it was chaos for a little while yesterday. So I do want to thank those guys, because they definitely helped out. Of course, Duke estimate still tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. So that's the earliest, the best I can tell you. I don't know. I'm hoping for earlier. I know they're on 11th Street working right now. I saw them on the way in. But we still do have 3 streets that are blocked. 17th Street is blocked, but it is open from both ends. You can get in from the 8th Street side and the Salisbury Avenue side now. You just can't go all the way through.
There's trucks over there working right
There
now.
are trucks.
Yeah.
And my power's back on.
Okay. Well, good for you.
Thankfully.
Excellent.
Hopefully it stays
Excellent. So, great update. So,
It's a good update.
So they're working on 17th and they're working on 11th. Those two are completely across the street. There again, it's accessible from both ends. It's not like they're cut off like 17th was earlier today. They finally got the other end clear where we could get through. So we finally got through and got that out. And Snyder is the other one. We have a tree that's hung in a tree on Snyder Street. 7th Street and 3rd Street are still partially blocked, but they're passable. Still waiting on Duke Energy. That whole Whitehead corridor down through there.
When I came through.
Yeah.
They were working there when I came through.
Oh, they
when
were.
I tried to come
good.
through.
So they're definitely throwing everything they've got at it this afternoon after we left. So very good. Just a reminder that trash service will be running a day late the week of Labor Day. The schedule is on your notice, Paul. The fall mulch giveaway is set for October the 7th. It'll be the first weekend. Normally I do it the 3rd weekend in September, but that's the race to the river, so I didn't want to double out that one, so we just moved it to the 1st of October. The 2 oak trees at Library Park, of course, one of them has been taken down. The other one, I have 2 estimates, and I'm actually waiting. I had a gentleman call and wanted to put a bid in for the 3rd, so I'm waiting on the 3rd. So as soon as we get the estimates, and then we'll be removing that tree, which stood up real well for the windstorm yesterday. Fancy that. So, but it's still got a large limb in it that's just not healthy, and it won't amount to anything, and I don't want any dangerous stuff at the park. So
I sent Carolina Site Works a message this morning. They were supposed to start this week paving. I've not. He responded, but not with a date. So I'm still hoping it's late this week. Once I get that date, I can send it to Peter, and he can send it out when they're actually going to start. But I did not get a hold of Jackie today to get an actual date. So we're still looking at that. You'll see the guys up until the point of the storm. We've been doing a lot of trimming in town. The truck is higher. Our new truck is 2 feet higher than our old truck. So there's a lot of areas that we're hitting where we didn't hit before. So we're doing a lot of trimming through town. So if you see them, we're just going up. We're not going out. Just trying to get clearance on that truck. So when it goes into effect, then we'll be okay. And update on the CCAP. I talked to Chris Sloop. We did get the extension, so the extension is in place. And I hand delivered the letters this week, or last week, and actually spoke to the residents to get those petitions signed so we can apply for our permits. So that's definitely in the works. Everybody seems to be on board. We just need to get the paperwork. That's what we're trying to do. So that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
I thought about something this week. You know, that garbage truck is going to pick up on one side.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Have you thought about doing alternate days for the left side of the highway, or the left side of the street, and coming back on the right side? I mean, there's some places where I know in towns they allow parking on one side of the street on a specific day so they can wash the streets and things like that. Mm-hmm. Would that be feasible with garbage pickup? Could the even houses be picked up on Monday and the odd houses be picked up on Tuesday?
Never thought of it, but we can definitely look into it. All possibilities, especially through the corridor that's got the most traffic on the street. That may be a possibility.
Yeah.
We'll look, definitely.
I think I was thinking of that when I couldn't sleep.
The heat. Exactly.
Any other question? Good. All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Next is our library report.
All right. So this past month was the reading program, which was a huge success. Beverly actually was worried she was going to run out of craft supplies because she had prepared for 12 or less children, and it ended up being at least 8 to 12 pretty much at every single event. And there are lots of pictures on Facebook from throughout. They read stories to the kids about pirates, mermaids, sea creatures, because that was the theme this year. And some of the crafts included mermaid sun catchers, foam feet parrots, shell collages, and pirate hats. And the readers that read the most, they were given prizes from first to third place, and they were able to choose from a selection in each category. And then the finale was on July 19th, and that was with Captain Jim is Magic and his assistant, Lady Louisa. And there was standing room only, and it was about 50 people. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend that day. I hadn't planned on it, and other things happened. But his whole theme is talking to the kids about different challenges in life and using the magic tricks to kind of demonstrate different things and keep their attention, of course. And apparently some teenagers also decided to volunteer during that, so I think that's a great thing. And they sang and played guitar, and he usually tells the kids about how he started his magic pirate career because of an accident that ended up taking his leg, and now he has a real peg leg. So that's how he became Captain Jim's Magic. And then Kona Ice Truck was there for the kids. And this past week and this week, and I believe the next week, Beverly is actually out of town. She is on a mission trip and also getting some different ideas and research for her next programs. And so one of our other Spencer citizens, Molly Berth, is substituting. And Beverly wanted to make sure that I thank everybody for your support and everything. Oh, and she did make note that families attended the reading event from Kannapolis, Granite Quarry, Faith, Rockwell, and Salisbury. So it was even more widespread than Spencer.
Good. Great. Thank you. Any questions from the board? All right. Thank you. All right. Town manager report.
Okay. Well, a few of the things I was going to mention, we've actually talked about a little bit tonight, but one thing I wanted to mention about our project at the Yadkin River is that Martin Marietta Materials is interested in jumping in and donating 15 boulders, I think, of 1,000 pounds each. Is that right? Towards our project, which is going to help us improve, I think, the aesthetics, but also the security along the trail towards the intersection with the finishing lane. So we're very appreciative of their support of the project, and Joel and his team are going to be working on a variety of dump truck loads of boulders from the quarry to the project site. But and I will say that that was made possible really with some assistance from our contractor. Made an initial contact over to the company, so we appreciate all that went into that. At this time, I want to ask Ryan Ledbetter to come forward. And Ryan is our new Lead for North Carolina Fellow. He started yesterday, and he actually, within just a couple of hours of being here, got to be in a room with all sorts of local, state, and even a U.S. senator. So it was a great start to his experience here, but he is a graduate of NC State University. He's
right. Thank you. Go back.
And so, yeah, we can have some ACC fun even more now. So, but he's from Harrisburg, and we're glad to have him with us. He's going to be focusing on some finance-related projects during his time, but also I call it being a sponge. I'm hoping we can expose him to all areas of local government services during his time, and hopefully plant a seed in him that will blossom into a long-serving local government staffer. You know. So, Ryan, I don't know if you want to say anything, but certainly welcome you.
Yeah, no, you covered all the bases. I'm just really excited to be here. It's a great town. Just being here for 2 days, I've kind of gotten the lay of the land. I went on the full tour yesterday with Peter, but you guys have a great team here, and I'm really excited to learn as much as I can. Look forward to it.
Awesome. We're excited to have you. Welcome aboard.
Put a name with a face. Awesome.
And I'd also like to. Hopefully, Sky is actually on our Zoom still. I want to reintroduce somebody y'all know, Sky Allen. Sky is now going to be working with us as an MPA intern on a remote basis from Chapel Hill, where she's returned for the next few years to complete the MPA program at the School of Government. Very proud of her. So Sky, I hope you can hear us. Maybe you'd like to say hello, but Sky's going to be continuing some of her public art projects in this capacity. And of course, you heard last week from Kyle about the mural up at the Dollar General. That work, I don't know if y'all have seen it, but it's starting to be pretty colorful up there.
Somebody was working there today, this morning.
Yeah.
Yes, I am on Zoom. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
It's great to be back. I've had a wonderful trip, but I'm happy to be back in Spencer. Yes, Kyle was able to do a lot of work on the project, actually a lot faster than previously anticipated. But we've had Christina Parrish working very hard on the side of the Dollar General, bringing in a sign to sort of welcome people in from the highway. It's going to be beautiful. It's colorful. You can see that already, and I think you are all going to like the left side quite a bit. It's got one of Spencer's favorite albino mascots, the squirrels
I like
that
the white
live in
squirrel.
the library
Yeah.
park. And Christine has done a fantastic job so far, and we're really excited to see it come to fruition. Soon enough, there's going to be I'll be coming before you digitally at least, with the next mural to come to Spencer. That will be a mural by Amiri Ferris, a very talented artist. We are halfway through that process, the concept development process with him now. So I am looking forward to presenting his work to you quite soon.
Sounds good.
Great. Well, we're thrilled to have you back, and thanks for all you've done, and look forward to all you're going to do for us. So thanks, Sky.
Thank you very much.
All right. Anything else?
Just happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from the board for Mr. Franzese? All right. Hearing none, we will move forward with comments from the mayor and board members. And we will start with Mr. Miller.
I think the main theme tonight is basically about our storm yesterday, and hopefully we can get help for all our citizens. I know everybody's kind of disappointed with some of the news about some of the power won't be installed till tomorrow. I hope our citizens can work together and help each other out, because this is what our small town is for. Is we're helping with everybody and working with people, sharing food, or doing what you can to help the people, because it's a hard. I know some of the people here are older, like myself, and they do need assistance. So I hopefully that everybody will try to be a good neighbor and help each other out.
Very good. And I did just get word our power is back on too. So apparently those estimates are about a day ahead. So maybe that's good news for folks around town.
You didn't have any pull for that? What's wrong with you?
None. All right, Mr. Morgan.
Again, I'd just like to repeat what's already been said. I'm very proud of our staff. They really come forward and come through when the chips are down, and it's really really a good thing to hear and to see. I know that they're very tired from things like this, and I just want to thank them again for all their efforts.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Mr. Howe.
Sure. I'll say ditto to that. I think our first responders, public safety, public works, you guys sprang into action, and what was rather chaotic at 5:45 yesterday was a lot less chaotic by by 8 or 9 last night, and we still had some roads blocked and stuff, but it was tape was up, and I think also especially along that Whitehead Avenue corridor, I did see neighbors helping neighbors, and in fact our neighbors, when we went to grab some supper last night, they moved a big branch out of our yard. We were gone, which they just did it, which is great. So I think that's it goes to what kind of community we are and what we can be. And I'll say on that note too, I've been riding around and I've seen a couple of houses that maybe have fallen in disrepair, but I've seen people working on them and things happening. And I don't know if it's new tenants or new owners or what, but I've seen that in several places around town. I think that's great. So if that continues.
Thank you, Mr. Al. Ms. Sledge.
I want to say thank you to all our folks who are out there working hard too, and I wanted to thank the town manager for contacting me yesterday afternoon to see if everything was okay at my house. I was very fortunate. The only thing I really had happen was that my okra plants got blown over, but I've got some small tree limbs in my yard and my drive, but nothing of any significance. And my power came back on at 4 o'clock this morning, so. Yeah. I was grateful for that. I will say that tomorrow I'm attending the board meeting at Central Lina, so I'll be there representing Spencer there, and on Thursday with Economic Development Board. So keep us posted on things going on with in Central Lina as well as Economic Development. And I'm just grateful for all the work that goes on here, for all the people who are willing to lend a hand, and just glad to be a part of this community. So
Thank you, Ms. Sledge. Mr. Muhammad.
First of all, I would like to again welcome Ryan. Look forward to working with you. Thanks again to all the staff, department heads, especially Joel, Chief Lannon, Chief Fowl, for the tremendous work that you've all done the past day, and that you have done in the past, and that you're going to continue to do in the future. And the board, kudos to us for trying to work collectively together as well to make things happen for this town. And Peter, thank you too again for reaching out yesterday, because that meant a lot. It's the small things, not always the big things. So again, then thanks to the residents that spoke in public comment and those that are listening as well via online.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Mayor Pro Tem.
I just wanted to reemphasize too how proud I was of our town as I rode around today and saw people at work from here and people working together to get this mess out of the way, and it really did make me feel good and very proud. So I still say we've got the best staff anywhere in the state. I'm very, very proud of all our departments. And I also wanted to mention two fun things that will be going on this weekend. On the 12th, this Saturday, the Bunce carts are going to have a cruise in and also their grand opening. Now, the ribbon cutting is going to be on Friday at 11, from what I understand. But they're going to have two beach bands, Catalina's and Ember's there. And they're going to have food trucks. It's going to be a big deal. I remember Rusty talking about it. So if you can go and participate and enjoy a little bit of that, I think that would be wonderful. And then right across the street at the Transportation Museum, they're going to be having the Brew and Chew Festival. So that's going to be going on, from what I understand, from 3 to 9, and the Bunce carts is 10 to 9. So you've got plenty to do right within 100 feet. So hopefully you'll be able to get to some of that sometime this weekend.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a couple brief comments from myself. Again, thanks to staff for all that you are doing in the response to the storm. I think it kind of snuck up on a lot of people, but we started getting alerts from Duke Energy about 24 hours ahead of the storm. And when that happens for thunderstorms, you know it's probably going to be pretty bad. I'll say that Duke Energy meteorologists are pretty spot on, maybe in comparison to some other meteorologists. But we're thankful that there were no injuries or anything like that. I know there was some property damage, and I appreciate the efforts of our community rallying around each other to help each other. The one thing I do want to point out is I think it's been a great thing to see when we're out and about and folks from other communities talk about what Spencer is doing. Yesterday I had two mayors come up to me, and we were talking about some things, and they were saying about certain things that they wanted to do and that they've used Spencer as an example of why they should do it. And I think that's a really good thing. Rising tide raises all ships, and it's good to see the success that other areas of the county are having as well. And I'm glad that we can help to set a positive example for that. And then the other thing was I had an individual mention, that lives in Salisbury, mention about how the things that Spencer is doing. And he made the comment. He said, "Y'all are on your way to doing things like Kannapolis." And I told him we have a ways to go before anything like that. But it just proves that people are taking notice of what we're doing, and so everybody's hard work, our staff, the board members, all that you devote, and then our citizens and businesses as well, who are really, really working hard to make Spencer a great place. All of that is paying off, and we're seeing it. The reputation's out there, and so we just need to keep up the good work. That's all that I have this evening. And so with that, is there a reason to go into executive session I would request that we do for the purpose, very briefly, of discussing the purchase of real property.
I move to go into closed session.
There's a motion by Ms. Sledge, second by Mr. Howe. All in favor? All right, all opposed? All right, we are in closed session, and we will be brief.